am JJ. I'm a Producers Guild member, line producer. I've produced music videos for Matt. I've produced television, feature films. I have a movie in the theaters right now that I co-produced and co-directed called Faith, Hope, and Love. We just did a 20-theater screening. So I'm like all over the place. I also just launched a tech company called Industry Jump. It's a community for filmmakers to find, hire, and book filmmakers all over the country. So I'm here as a resource to all of you. I also teach producers, I mentor producers, and one of the biggest things that I talk to producers about is protecting yourself and your business. We're all in here to make money and to follow our dreams of making the arts. And the second you have bad business is the second you jeopardize your dreams. You know, as filmmakers, this is a crazy business. While we have a camera, we're running around and capturing awesome things. We're also paying other people. We're liable for their health, them on set, payment standards, and all this kind of stuff. And so there's a lot of legalities that come with that. And so I try to teach as much as possible to prevent that. You know, one of the situations or an example that I'll bring up is I was doing a music video with Matt about 2 years ago. We were in this big mansion, 30 crew and about 50 extras, and we were paying on a net 30, which means you pay 30 days after the video. And one of the extras, he didn't get the payment instructions properly, and so about 2 weeks after the video, he sent me a message. It was like, hey, I haven't received my check yet for $150. If I don't have it by tomorrow, I'm bringing you to small claims or the labor board. And I was like, all right, well, I'll electronically pay you now, and he didn't accept electronic payment. So I sent him the check, and it was 2 days late. Long story short, he brought me to the labor board for $3,000 in damages. And so it was about 2 months of going to meetings, preparing, all that kind of stuff, because his $150 check was 2 days late. You know, and this is an extreme situation, but this is how I try to teach my producers to protect themselves. You know, you don't want to do this. We're here to make art. We're not here to do this kind of crap. You know, and so it starts with, you know, we're running a business. This is the film business. And to set yourself up for success, the first year, I think I produced about 25 music videos. I did about $400,000 in revenue. And I brought my accountant about 30 rap binders. And I was like, here you go. And he's like, what are you doing with this? I go, here's all my videos I did all this year. And he's like, where's my P&L statement? Where's my profit? All this kind of stuff. I was like, what are you talking about? I don't know any of that stuff. He's like, well, where's your 1099 like contractors export? It's like, what do you mean? And so I had to spend about 2 weeks to manually go through all that stuff and to do all the bookkeeping, to do all the paperwork that I needed to be doing all along. It took so long, and it was a huge roadblock that I don't want to be doing. And so ever since that day, I set up a great bookkeeping procedure. I do everything in QuickBooks now. I attach it to my bank accounts. I write all of my checks through QuickBooks. So the second I pay a contractor, I already have them in my QuickBooks as a contractor. I assign labor codes, I assign gear rental codes, all that kind of stuff. And so at the end of the year now, I just export my P&L statement, I export my contractors, and it's in a really clear bookkeeping way to show my account exactly how my business is running. And that is helpful as a business owner because it allows you to see how healthy your business is. It allows other people who might want to invest in your business to see how healthy your business is. And it also allows you to just keep making art legally the right way and to make a lot of it. You know, it's all about building a scalable business. You know, we want to be, you know, 5 steps ahead of where we are now. And if we're not putting the foundation down of building that scalable business, we're never going to get there. You know, so I think the biggest thing is looking at how you're processing your business, how you're taking in your money, how you're paying out your people. Most of our crews are 1099, so it's W-9s, invoices. How you're managing those and creating your wrap binders for each project. It goes a long way into building that business. So I kind of want to take some questions at this point to see what kind of information you guys are looking for, and then I'll go expand from there. So any kind of general producing questions, running your own business questions, what's up? Yes, so the question is how to set up a good legal formation. And so there's a lot of different ways to do this. I started as a DBA, and DBA stands for doing business as. But it was not the best way to do it because the goal of setting up this legal formation is to protect yourself and your entities. And so as a DBA, people could still sue you as a sole proprietor and still like take my home. And I don't like that. So I recommend an LLC. LLC is one of the cheapest, easiest, fastest ways to go, but there's some things that come with it. It's a $800 minimum a year requirement. If you make over a certain money each year, you can pay more than that. So there's upkeep to that. But it's a great legal structure. On feature films, we actually create 2 LLCs. So we'll create a feature film for the production arm and an LLC for the production arm, and then an LLC to keep all of our money in. That way, if someone sues the production arm, they can't take all of our money. And so that's how we separate our legal structures to protect ourselves and our assets moving forward. S Corp is a great formation as well. It allows you to get better tax benefits, but it also costs more to maintain. You got to do quarterly filings, and it costs a little bit more. So I'd say if you're bringing in $300,000 to $400,000 or $500,000 a year for your total business, look into an S Corp. Other than that, I would stick with an LLC. It's really important to figure out your bookkeeping and your accountant situation from day one. So you should go to your accountant and figure out what kind of information you need to bring to them at the end of the year, and then build that bookkeeping solution every step of the way. With QuickBooks Mobile and some other bookkeeping apps, there's easy ways to do this. You definitely want to avoid just like writing out checks or throwing cash out there because it's so hard to track. Paper checks, you got to import it into your bookkeeping system. You don't know what contractor that's going to. You don't know when they're going to cash that. And when they do cash that, it's not registered of who that contractor was. So there's so much extra work. So if you're writing checks, always try to do it through a bookkeeping system to expedite that. Sorry, I'll come.
So you guys pay them through QuickBooks?
Yes, so the way I do it is when I process payment, I take their W-9, right? And I create a new contractor in QuickBooks. So I take their name, their address, and their social or EIN, right? So that's a new contractor. That's the minimum amount of information I need. And then I write a check to that person, which is like that contractor, and then I assign the labor code. So say it's like $1,000 for labor, and then $1,000 for gear rentals. And I separate those because they're taxable in different ways. Labor is like full taxable, and gear you can write off more. So you want to be able to separate those and right from the beginning to save you money and to save them money. And so at the end of the year, when you go to export your 1099s, you'll say, I think it's like miscellaneous box something. It's like this is labor, and then another box is gear. And you separate those out then. And through QuickBooks, you can actually auto-export all of your contractors automatically if you pay them through QuickBooks. And so the threshold is if you pay them $600 or more, you need to report that. I think it's by like March 29th or something like that. That way that these contractors have the forms they need to file their taxes on time. And if you don't file those forms, most of the time nothing's going to happen, but you could also be charged like an $800 fine per form. So there have been times where I haven't filed and I haven't been caught, but that could happen. So running a legal business comes with processing these forms and sending these forms to the right parties. When I go to process my 1099 forms, I export it through QuickBooks, and then I use a service called Track 1099 online. And so I can easily import my entire QuickBooks spreadsheet. It easily automatically assigns all the boxes, and then I enter the email addresses for all of those recipients, and it digitally sends those 1099s to all the recipients and the state. I think it's like $2 per form. And so usually I do that to like 200 to 300 contracts a year. So it's like $500. And so it's important to build those fees and your bookkeeping fees and your legal fees into each of your budgets. For so long I was running a business, and then at the end of the year I'd have to pay like $5,000 to $10,000 in taxes, bookkeeping, accounting. And it's like, if I would have known I had to pay that, I would have built it in advance. But it ended up just coming out of my rate, and that's bad business because now I'm losing money, and no one wants to lose money. Of course. What's up?
I'm a director from New York, and in New York, I don't know how it is in every state, but I know they had a thing that they put into law, like the freelancers thing, where they were kind of trying to get rid of the net 30 thing. But then how do you successfully implement that, getting the company to adhere to that without messing up that relationship at the same time?
Yeah, so payment terms are so tricky. This is a business, and everyone needs to get paid on time or they can miss their rent. And so one of the first things that I implemented after that incident that I told you about is on every single invoice, I say the payment terms, and I have them sign that invoice agreeing to those payment terms right away. So there's no miscommunications there. So You're right. Net 30 is not a good thing. I mean, it's legal, you could do it, but that's not how people like to be paid. And so if you're trying to get people at like a lower rate and stuff, and you say, hey, I'm going to throw you a net 30, they'll be like, I'm not going to get my check for a month. I don't even want to come out at that point. But if you can hit them at like a net 14, then it's like, okay, I'll get paid in a couple of weeks. That's good. So it's about structuring your business and your cash flow. So looking at taking on a video. Normally, we like to get 75% up front and then 25% on the back end. Now, there's some times where I'll do like a $75,000 music video, and as a small business owner, that means I'd have to front like 25 grand on the back end, and I don't like that, because not only am I only making, I don't know, several thousands of dollars, but I'm fronting so much money. And so what I like to do in those situations is negotiate the terms, and I'll say, I want 75% up front, and then I want 12.5% after the day of production, and then another 12.5% on delivery. And so that allows me to create a better cash flow situation. And then knowing that cash flow up front, I figure out my hard cost and my soft cost. So I know, all right, of that 75 grand, what are costs that I'm gonna have to pay the day of production, and what are costs, which would be hard costs, and what are costs that I'm gonna have to pay after production. And so at that time, I go to the people on set that are making the most money and say, hey, I have a delivery 30 days after this, I owe this much, can you hold off on your payment, like the director or the DP, until this date? Way ahead of time. And that's how I kind of manage that, so I don't have to float as much money. There's been so many times where, as a production company, I've just had to keep like 10 grand in my business account just to float all that money. And when you're just floating that money, it takes a lot, and it's not ideal. So being creative with your cash flow is a great way to attack that problem.
So go back to the last thing that you talked about, creating the two different expenses for that your contractor and the year rental. So with the year rental for that expense, do you actually own this year and you find that as an expense for your contractor to use it?
No, we don't own it. We're renting it from them. Yeah. Yeah, and we do, we have a separate line item for locations, for crafty, wardrobe, all this kind of stuff. There's, I think, like 15 different tax codes that I figure out with my accountant at the beginning of each year, and then assign all those productions or expenses into those tax codes. Yep.
You get an accountant, like, how I usually do, and I'm in my second year doing it, and I'm finding that trying to keep track of all projects.
It's tough.
It's tough. So, recommend accountant?
Yes. Yeah, so I mean, as filmmakers, we're not trained in bookkeeping or accounting, but to run a business, that's what you need to know, and so it's really tough. And I had to learn the hard way. I think I've had to learn like you, just by doing it and figuring it out and just stumbling along the way. And so, and especially production accounting, it's very different than just regular accounting. So it's important to find someone that knows how to do production accounting and to speak with that person as soon as possible. And then from there, hopefully he can introduce you to like someone that does film bookkeeping, and you can schedule maybe like a one-day session where they teach you how to do your own film bookkeeping, to get going with that process a little bit more. But did I answer your question?
Yeah. The app you said you used to
Track 1099. Yeah.
What were the three forms you said it earlier, the minimum that you need?
Each contractor?
Yeah.
So it's an invoice and a W-9. Those are the two minimum forms. You need it from everyone. And if you're going to so if you pay them over 600, so the threshold is if you pay them less than 600, you don't need to report that to the government. But this is cumulative. So say I pay someone $200 and then I pay that same person $700. That's a total of $900 in that fiscal year, and I need to report it. So that's where it comes of using a bookkeeping system to keep track of all of those payments on all of those different projects to figure out who you actually have to pay and report at the end of the year.
Can you repeat that again? You said less than $600 you're not to report it. But let's say you hired him, one project $300, 3 months later another project $300, then you actually have to bundle that together and...
Exactly. They're one contractor, and so they look at all the expenses for that one contract throughout the entire fiscal year, and if it's over $600, if it's $600 or more, you have to report it. Of course.
Two more questions.
I believe it's March 29th. Double check that date though. It's like March 29th, March 30th, something around that area, April 1st. January 30th, there it is. Thank you, sir.
You happened to touch on 1099s, and I had to do that recently. I just don't really understand.
Sure. There's two ways of paying people: as a contractor, which is invoice, and W-9. And as a contractor, you have to issue 1099s at the end of the year. So that means that you're an independent contractor. Or you pay someone as an employee, and that's a W-2 and an I-9 form, and you have to pay payroll fees on that as well. Payroll fees start at around 15 to 19%, and you need a payroll company to process that for you. If you go the payroll route, they will do all of your reporting at the end of the year, but that's like 20% on every dollar you spend with them. So a $100 person, you're paying $120 for all the payroll fees and everything.
So what's office payroll now? So
Yeah, but you'd have to have your own workers' comp policy and for payroll, actually. So there's a lot that goes into film payroll. So I always use a film payroll company that understands the industry. I wouldn't try to do it by yourself, not at this step.
one more question. Any producers, workshops, meetings that you might be holding or
Yeah, so I'm mentoring 10 producers right now, and I just held a producing workshop that had like 150 minutes of every step of producing. So if anyone wants to get access to those, just come by me. I'll give you my card. And that's part of what we're doing at Industry Jump is educational training. We want to give filmmakers the skills they need to get to that next level. And so we do that through mentoring and educational videos. Cool. Thanks, guys. JJ, if you have any questions, let me know.
As far as like, I mean, because the platform itself is for not just for producers. I mean, it's for everybody, right?
So it's not like your job listing site. So we take a strong stance on verified film crew. So if you need a sound mix or a hair and makeup artist, wherever, we have verified film crew in 50 countries. All right, so then you find them on the platform, you see the portfolio, you see all the credits, you message them, you pay them, and you pay them through Industry Jump, and we actually automate the W-9s, the invoices, and the 1099s. So if you pay them through our platform, we automate all the bookkeeping for you. We charge 5%, but you don't have to worry about the bookkeeping and the 1099s as well. So we're trying to make it really easy for filmmakers just to film and less on the busy work that goes into it. And so we're a tech company. I'm a filmmaker, but my co-founders are Jacob Owens and some Silicon Valley guys, ex-Google guys, ex-Microsoft. So we bring a great combination of technology and filmmaking to the world. Yeah.
I have a question for you. How did you transition to, because last I worked with him, we were doing a Armin van Buuren music video maybe, or somebody.
Yeah,
right?
2016.
Yeah. So how was that transition? What was the overall vision, or what was the revelation maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, it was really, I was getting sick of doing so much back office work like I was just talking about. Like, I'm a producer, but I like to create things. I got into this to create visuals and whatnot. I didn't get into it to do bookkeeping, accounting, and all that kind of stuff. And so hiring 300 to 400 filmmakers a year, I was just doing so much back office work. And not only that, but like hiring contractors, onboarding them, getting their paperwork, connecting them to communication channels, paying them and moving on. It was just getting to be so much work. So that's the kind of stuff that we're building at Industry Jump, is a project management solution to really onboard your film crew really easily and pay them to move on. And I knew nothing about technology. You know, as a producer, I came up with a solution. I put together a video. I surveyed it with about a couple hundred filmmakers. And then I found a team to make it happen. And it started about a year and a half ago. And I knew nothing about building product, UI, UX, nothing. Since then, we've built about 6,000 hours of product. I now run the product team. I just finished raising our first round of angel investment. And we're now talking with entertainment partners about a strategic investment. And so we're getting ready to scale to the next step now.
What was that mindset though? What was that like little switch, or what did you have to change? I guess that from like creative to entrepreneurial. Like what was that like? Was there a set thing or anything like that?
You know, like as producers, we are entrepreneurs. So there was always that instinct of like running my own business and finding a solution to a problem that I'm having. And in this particular situation, it was a pain that I was feeling. And so I created a solution to solve that pain. And it ended up being a scalable company. But there's so many ways to building a company, especially a tech company. Like, I also mentor like young entrepreneurs, and I tell them that if they come up with an idea for something, one of the next steps to do is to build out a 5-year profit and loss statement, because if you're only going to get about 40 million by year 5, then chances are your company's not even going to be investable by a certain round of investors, because they want to see 100 million by year 5. And so there are a lot of ways to structure how to build a company, how to go about it, what kind of financing is good for you, and where to make money.
That's good. That's good. I mean, I think it's something that we all need to do, because as of right now, like I'm sure a lot of you guys, if you're not working, you're not getting paid. You know what I mean? And so creating something, whether it's on this level or just something as easy as some transitions or something, some sort of passive income, and just having that mindset of an entrepreneur, like that, because we are, like you said, I mean, each project's its own business. I mean, we are our own business technically anyways, but you know, I'm really proud of this guy, and to see where it's gone, it's just, it's amazing. And it's also something that we all need to do, you know, not only go to his website and log in there and get a membership and do all the stuff, but
Free.
that's what I'm saying, just log in. But also more so, you know, let's, you know, start thinking like that, you know, think on that level, and, you know, he's leading the way. So I appreciate you, JJ. Thank you very much. And we did some amazing videos together.